Ahmed. ABG, Ahmed, yeah, okay. Um, okay, so this is Abed's drawings. It's your group's drawings. It's important to give credit where credit is due. But so this to me straight away, it's black and white. It's got grids on it. It's kind of a what I would call the start of a development drawing because it's got so much technical information on it. So what I'll do today is I'll turn it into a concept drawing, and then when we get to the point where we want to make development drawings, I'll do it into development drawings. Okay. So number one, that's just a slight naming problem. That's not a perspective. It's an elevation. So let's just be kind of a bit nerdy about this stuff because it is important. Let's just turn it up. So I'm just going to call this elevation north. The other thing, this is a if I can get my computer to work. This is a problem with Revit 2017. It's kind of screwed up all the positions of the text. So if you need to fix that, you can select the text box and just go up to Edit Family, and that will open up the family editor. And you can see now that we go down here to where all the elements are, I can actually select this and just stretch it across a bit to give it a bit more space because it's just been destroyed by the new version of the software. So there we go. It's starting to look a little bit more clean. Let's just move this around. I don't know why it's done this. It's never changed anything before in this regard, but it kind of looks okay now. So once you've finished it, you can just press load into project again and overwrite the existing version. And you can see it's just fixed the text. Now other things are going on here is that we can just change the project number. We just changed it to 001, or a good one is kind of a typical architect office. We'll just call it 2016 001. Yeah, so it kind of tells where it is. Date. Always show who drew it. Who drew it? Yeah. But was there no specific person that made this sheet? There must be one specific person that made the sheet.
Maybe me. I don't know.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is that it's important to put that down there because the model is only the beginning of the drawing, you know. So we'll put you down for the moment. I don't know if anybody checked it. The scale is weird. You never use 165. yeah. So here we can put in. We've got an elevation view. So let's just change the drawing number to the elevation view. So I'm just going to click on it, and we're going to make it 99 because it's about everything so far. It's level 3, and we'll just make it 001. Now the nice thing about this is if you start doing this at the beginning in your drawing list over here, Revit will automatically make 002 and 003, you know, so you don't have to do it every single time. So there we go. Okay, so that's kind of that sorted out.
But it'll do it every time you say 99.3.
Yeah.
Then it'll go to 2.
Yes. I think. 99 just talked about the whole building. Yeah. Okay. So then let's go into the view now. Elevation north. Where's your elevation? Elevation north. Is that the same view? I don't think it is actually. I think this one is called something else. Sheet name elevation north. View name. Oh, it is north. Yeah. Okay. So north. So now we have this this view. So the way I usually do this, first of all, you would never show an elevation view. We talked about this already with the footing. You should never be able to see the foundation. You should always just see the site. So if we go into the 3D view here, I can see you haven't really got a topography in there yet, and that's why it's flying in the air like that. So what we can do is just go into the site view, and without knowing what the site is like, I'm just going to put in a flat site. So I'm going to go into massing in site, topo surface, and when you do this, you just get a series of points. So I'm just going to put a point here, here, there. You can see it's starting to make a sight already. So now we've got a four-sided sight just at the site level. If I accept that and go back into the 3D view again, you can see that it's sitting on something. So that means is that when you make the elevation view, it will cut it and you won't see the footing behind. Of course, what we need to do now is, because the site is actually now inside your house as well. So if I turn on the color here, let's turn on shaded view. It's not actually so bad. You've got a raised floor, but it's what's happening is that the site is actually going through the house. So we also need to cut the site out around the house. So the way to do that is go back into the site view, and we've got this option for building pad. Sorry, I didn't mean to press that straight away. If I select building pad and just let it go, I don't know if you guys have done this yet with Robert, but it's important to do, is that it basically, you just draw the outline of the house, and then Revit will cut the site out for you. So let's just quickly do something like that. So I'm going to make a building pad, and I won't be too exact about it. I'm just going to make a rectangle around the house like this. Yeah, but it's not showing up in the model here. So for those who haven't done it, so I'm not sure what these levels mean yet, but let's just accept it and see what it looks like. So it's cut out the area anyway within the house. So it's cut it to the level that we put it at. So so let's leave it like that for the moment. So I go back into the north view, and I can still see that actually the elevation view is not cutting through the site here. We can still see the footing. So we kind of need to move the position of where the elevation is taken from. So it's into the it's cutting through the site. So let's go back to your name. You've got strange names, but anyway, never mind. So I'm going to take the north elevation, which is up here, yeah. I'm just going to grab it, and then we can just move it down closer. So it's actually going to be cutting through the, hopefully, if this graphic works. So there we go. So now it's cutting too far through it. There's something weird about this building. Wait a second. Well, that's weird. Why is your elevation graphic divorced from the position of the elevation? That's strange. Let's have a look at this. I'll tell you what I'll do here is let me just undo that. There's something a little bit odd about this north symbol, is that the point that it's taking the cut through the view is about 3 or 4 meters in front of where the symbol is showing on the drawing. I don't know why, but I can't find it right now. So rather than spending 15 minutes trying to work it out, I'll just change the site instead, because that would be the quick way around it. So what I'll do is I'll just take the site, edit it, and just grab it and stretch it out so that it's kind of out here. And do the same thing up here, so it's just a little bit bigger. Because what we want to do here is to make sure that the elevation view actually cuts the site rather than sits outside the site. Let's go back into your north view. So now it's cutting it, you see. So now it's hidden the stuff behind, which is the kind of thing. Now the other thing is that once we've done that, we actually, the usual way of describing a site, let's just change your scale to 1 is to 100, which is a more normal scale for architects anyway. If I come in here, and I'm going to switch on the line thicknesses by pressing this button here. This has all been recorded, so if you can't follow, it's okay. So you can see we've got a nice fat line on the site there. So that's exactly That's exactly what we want, because that really tells us that the ground level is here. But what we usually do just for cleanliness is change the hatch on the site itself. I reckon, let's see if we can just check it out here. So what I'll do is I'll change the values of some of the elements within the drawing here. So this button here, these two buttons here are kind of how you control the quality of your drawing. So there's visibility and graphics, and then there's graphic display options. Let's make that a little bit bigger so you can kind of see it. So visibility, graphics, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go down to topography, open it up, and we want to change the cut, contours to, we want to override the what it's got. You can see it's set to gray at the moment, so we can just change that. Make sure it's set to a solid fill, so we can make it black if we want, and then we can change the color so it's set to white. Okay, apply.
And it just disappears.
Yeah, so then it just disappears. The nice thing about that is when you're printing out, because you have to print these drawings, is that you're not using a hell of a lot of ink. So using ink it's really expensive to print these drawings, especially at A1. So whatever you can do to minimize the amount of ink that's being printed, graphically, it makes some sense. It also looks better if it's photocopied, because often drawings get photocopied as well. And if you have a grayish surface in a photocopy, it can be a little bit ugly. So that's kind of the basic thing. Now, so we also, it's a concept drawing, so our audience is the client here. So the client doesn't want to know where all the grids are. That's for the constructor. So what we can do is we can just select one of the grids, right click. If I can get this pen to work. That's what happens when you stop using the mouse. I'll have to right click on the pad here. And then we can say hide in view category. So now it's just switched off all the grids, but only in this view. They still exist in all the other views. And the other thing we have here is you've kind of got layers all over the place, or levels, I mean. But we can do the same thing with that. So I right click here. I have to use this mouse again. And hide in view category. So now it's kind of a clean drawing with no technical information in it. So now let's try and make it a little bit pretty. So I'm going to turn the view to realistic, which it thinks about for a while. I don't have any wall patterns in there, so it's not going to look great. Okay, so let's just add a edit type. Edit the structure, and then you've got brick on the outside, and then plaster on the inside. But why isn't the brick displaying? Yeah, let's have a look at it. Use render appearance. There's no brick. Why doesn't it have a brick? Okay, your image is missing. Okay, so I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just change it to brick. So I'll put in this Norman brick here. So it's kind of going to look like that. That's okay. So it kind of looks like that. Now that's kind of blank and not so nice. So what we can do then is we can come to the graphic display options here, and this is where you kind of adjust. This is where you really get a little bit artistic. So we can change it to smooth lines, because we want to have it very smooth lines, because they're for printing. Silhouettes. What silhouettes do is every time you've got a line that is kind of it's kind of up here. If it's kind of, how best to describe this? If there's something behind it, it will make it a darker line, so it kind of pops out of the screen at you. Okay. And to be honest with you, this is probably not the best view to do it on, because there's nothing behind. But I'll show you how we do that later anyway. So silhouettes, I'm going to turn that to medium lines, because I want those lines to pop a little bit more. I'm going to turn on ambient shadows, which is just general shadows in the area. If I apply that, you won't see it so much on this yet. And then I'm going to turn on cast shadows as well, which is shadows from the sunlight. So it gives it a little bit of depth straight away. Often I also put on a sketchy line, not too much, just a slight extension. This is my own thing. I just like to do this. If you do a slight extension, it kind of looks like it's been a little bit drawn by hand. At concept stage, it gives you something. And then if we put in depth cueing, I might do the depth cueing in another side of it because there isn't anything behind here. But lighting is important. I'm going to turn the shadows right down. I'm going to turn the ambient light right up. Apply that. It starts to pop a little bit more out of the screen here, because Revit automatically makes things really dark and really full-on colorful. So let's just first of all do it like this. And then this one here is your friend, photographic exposure. This is the one that actually makes it start to look a little bit cool. So if I enable photographic exposure and switch color correction on, we can actually take this horrible yellow color out of the bricks and start to turn it into something that looks a little bit more, subdued and interesting. So if I apply that, whoops, that was a little bit too far. So saturation is the one that does this. Is you can kind of play with how much you get. You can also turn up the white point so it gets a little bit brighter. Oops. That's too much. But you can basically endlessly play with this stuff until you get a kind of a setting that you're happy with.
And it's just doing it.
Yeah.
Just like try it on.
Just trying it. There's no rule to it. It's just what do you think looks good.
If you have a little bit of experience with the Photoshop color, so you can just change the number.
Yeah, you can do it in Photoshop, but the thing is, you shouldn't because what I'm doing here is, once you do it once, you can save the settings and then you can just reuse them in every single project. So you never have to do it again. So I'm just showing you how to do it, and then you kind of set it up as a template from then on. So let's press OK. And then I'm going to put in a background as well, because you can put in clouds and sky and all that stuff if you want to. Or you can put in just a gradient, which I generally do, which is just there. So it gives it some kind of small piece of depth. I think I'm going to take the yellow and take the white points down again a little bit. It's a little bit too much. Oops, that's too far again. It's very sensitive. It's like you only move it a couple of millimeters and it changes entirely. So maybe we'll just type it in by hand. Okay, let's leave it like that for the moment. Shadows, saturation. Okay. And we can turn up the blue a little bit here. Give it a little bit more blue at the top, for example. So you can kind of play it like that as a kind of concept step. So then I can say save as view template. So I'm going to save this as a template for all my elevations, so I don't have to do this work again. Okay. So save as view template. We're going to call this concept. Whoops. Concept elevation. Okay. So then it's showing me all the settings in here for concept elevation, which is a view template. So from now on, I can't change these settings within this drawing itself. I actually have to go into the template and modify it. Okay. So I'll just show you how that works. So I press OK here, and that's kind of how it's starting to look okay. So let's go into the east view, for example. And the east view looks like this. So now that we've done it once, we shouldn't have to do it again. So if I just zoom in a little bit here, I can see it's a slightly different wall you got in the background here, so it might not completely change everything. But over on the right here, if you don't click on anything, you have the properties view, which is just the properties for the entire for this view here. I can come down here and click on view template and click on concept elevation, and then just apply, and then it just does the same thing to that house as well. So you can see that it's just I think you can actually select all of them, right click and apply view template. Yeah, so you can apply concept elevation, apply. So straight away, you know, very quickly you can make your house look a little bit more popping, you know. Now in this one here, I can see that this one didn't delete the it didn't delete all the elements here. So some of the values don't come through because when I deleted the elements here, I used the visibility and graphics overrides. Was where I changed the colors, I used the graphic display options. So the templates don't come through in that case.
Can you make a template for the graphics override?
Yeah, so I can come in here now that we know what's going on. I can come in here to and press the concept elevation template down here, which is set up, and I can come in and modify the model overrides. And I can say we're going to change. Oh, sorry, it's annotation we're going for. We want to change. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, over here on the properties panel, down to the view template. Oh, there's actually an option here now to change the model overrides. Let's just see if that works automatically. No, it doesn't because I haven't set them in. Okay, so let's edit the model overrides, annotation categories. And we can go down to levels are switched off, it says here. And what about grids? Grids are also switched off. So maybe I just need to apply it. That's weird. Why is this not working? No. But this is the whole point. You shouldn't have to do them one by one. View template, concept elevation. I think there's something a little bit strange with this project. There might be an error in it or something because effectively what you're supposed to be able to do is come into it, change the overrides, and then go down and change all the elements that are supposedly switched off. But in this case, if I, for example, halftone them and apply, what happens then? Nothing. Okay, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to save this and then restart the project. Okay. Now, if I click on this and right click, elements. Yeah. Okay. Well, there's some glitch there. I mean, it should be switching off according to the view properties, but I mean, everybody can try that out. But if I hide them by themselves, category, they come off, but they're not being switched off by the template. I don't understand that, but anyway. Okay, so you can see here that that's kind of it's kind of set up. Now the thing down here we can do is we can come down to the sun path, and you can see that this is grayed out at the moment, so we can't actually change anything. You can't now change any of the view properties directly in the view here. You actually have to change them in the template all the time. So if I want to change the sun position, for example, I have to go back into the template again. I hope this one works. So, but we can come down to color scheme, photographic lighting. Here it is. And you can change, for example, the sunlight from top right, or we can give it a realistic one. If I press still, it'll give us a one that's based on the actual lighting conditions. But the usual way of doing a concept elevation is just making the light at a 45-degree angle, because it just gives you this better sense of depth. So I'm just going to say lighting, and we can just choose some top right or top left. And in this case, probably the top right gives us the most sense of depth there, because it's there's more modeling on that side. So we can leave that like that. But we can also kind of adjust how much of the shadows are showing as to whether there's too much or whatnot, because you just need enough to be able to sense that there's 3 dimensions going on in here. And it kind of looks like that. Okay. So that's one thing. So then, if we go into the sheet, you can see that all the changes we made have kind of moved things around on the sheet here. So let's move that back in. And if I double click on this, the view becomes activated, which means I can crop it. And drag it in to the sheet, because we don't want to have too much empty space around the house. We want to just have it kind of maybe a little bit more room at the top and a little less at the bottom there. And then we can move it into place. Now the other thing we can do is we can change this type of title. So we change it from with line to no line, because it takes up so much space. And then we can just select it and bring it over and put it in place as well. And while I'm here, let's just drag the other one in as well. East, was it? Just drag that one in to the sheet. I'm going to delete this sheet. And this I can see is still at level. This is still at 1 to 65. So you can either go back into the view and change it, or you can just click on it and come up here and change the scale value to 1:100 or whatever you want it to be, which will put it at the right scale. And then we can do the same thing again. We select this. Oh yeah, press the wrong button there. This pen still confuses me sometimes.
So you want to put them like all the versions in one sheet?
For
Like all four?
at concept stage, it's whatever you think the client will be most attracted to. So often you make them a booklet, so it's not really a drawing set per se. It's more like, you know,
Like an album.
yeah, it's like a presentation booklet or you know, something like that. It depends. Often then you might show them a PowerPoint or but the PowerPoint should be able to be printed out so they can keep it and so on, that kind of stuff. So let's do the same thing again.
But basically all of the elevation views should be without lines and just like it is now here.
Yeah, with a little bit more detail, and I'm just going to finish them off now in a second. Now that's not really very well set up on a sheet, but we won't worry about that for the moment. That's kind of a little bit confusing, but never mind. So the last thing that I would do in an elevation sheet, first of all, I would put some people in there. And Revit has some people you can just put in there, and some trees. Let's go into slab base. Now let's go into site view. And go up to masking and site component. And let's just put like, you can choose the type of tree you want over here. They're usually American trees, but you know, they're kind of enough to get started, to give some kind of background to the thing. So site component, yeah. And then if we go back into the east view again, what we can put in is spot dimensions, because it's a concept scheme. You don't want to have all these dimension lines going over the place. You just want to have like overall dimensions. So if we come up to annotate here, they have a couple of things here. We've got spot elevation. So I'm going to click on spot elevation, and I'm just going to choose the type. I want to have a beam elevation because it has an arrow on it. So every time there's a kind of a top point, you can give it an actual value as to where that level is going to be. So we can actually go through it and choose, you know, what happens or how we display all the main levels within the building, like that. And that's kind of the level of technical detail you would put into a concept drawing. It's so it doesn't interrupt the feeling of what the house is supposed to be. Let's just edit the type. and I'm going to change the text so it is not opaque. You see the way that it's making a white panel here behind the text. You can switch that off by editing the text label, coming down to the background and changing that to transparent. So it just goes on like that. It's a little bit more relaxed. Yeah, that was annotate, and I put in spot elevation. And these they automatically give you these kind of American target elevations, which we use, but only in plan views in Europe. So generally, it's just written. If you go to spot elevation, you can change the type of it to a beam elevation, which gives you these arrows. Okay. Any questions about that so far? So have you done floor areas with Robert yet? Room areas and stuff like that? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I won't go into that then. Okay, well, I'll just... I think so. Well, first of all, okay, let's change this slab base that you have here. Let's just rename that and call that ground floor plan. Would you like to rename corresponding levels and views? Yes. Okay, so there we have ground floor plan. So you can do a couple of things here. You can do the same thing with the graphics. If I just press here and say View Template and apply Concept Elevation Template, it won't allow me, will it? Let's have a look. Let's try and apply Concept Elevation Template to this. Oh, it does. So it does it. So you can get the same kind of graphical quality here. Maybe we want to put some graphs on the side here and so on to make it a little bit less construction oriented. But so you can do that. That's one kind of thing to do. But you can see here that the plans here, they're still showing all the constructional layers. So we want to just make sure that that's not visible. So the simple way to do that is to come over here again to visibility and graphics overrides. And of course we're in the concept elevation, so we need to do it in the... I'm going to switch off the template here, so I'm going to have no template. So visibility, graphics overrides, and then we can just basically click on the top one, hold down Shift, click on the bottom one, and then you can see over here we've got cut lines and cut patterns. I want to override the cut patterns so they don't show anything. So I'm just going to override, and I'm going to make it all black, and I'm going to make it just a black shade like that, and then apply that. And you can see that now we've got a concept plan, which is kind of set up to go. In this case, I think what I'll do is I can also change it to grass because it's just overwhelming the way it is now. So I'm just going to change the material of that to grass. It's very brown, yeah. I'm going to make the plan color there. So then you have a concept state. So you could show this, but I would always show your rooms and your areas.
What did you override again?
Change that to grass.
I overrided all the... Okay, I'll do it again. So it's visibility, graphics overrides. Yeah. Then I just went into all the model categories and I selected the top one. Yeah, the top one, and hold down Shift to go down to the bottom one. And then you can override the cut patterns here on the right just by clicking on it. That make sense? You can override over here. See, if you click on one of these, if you've selected them all, you can change the fill pattern. You can also change the color. Yeah, okay, well, I'll stop recording this. So then we should be able to use the room tool. If I select room, we should be able to say, okay, here's a room with a title on it. It's an enormous room. For some reason, it's not reading any of these walls, so it means that your walls probably don't go right up to the ceiling of the house. So that means that the room tool is kind of not making any sense because it's not reading the room is enclosed. But other than that, you should do that and give every single one an area. Let's go up to the top floor and see if we can do it up there. If I go room, yeah, it's allowing us to select the bedroom here. So I can select the bedroom here, and I can select this area, and I can select the bathroom. Like that. And then we should be able to select the type of room itself, and then we just change it to, bedroom. Whoops. I always do everything backwards. I have a slight mental problem. So then we can do it here, change that to bathroom. Apply. And this one here, I'm going to change. You have to make sure you kind of select this X. So you can use the tab button. If it's not selecting it, if you press tab, it'll go through everything that's underneath the cursor there until you get it. So let me get this one and change that to, we'll just call that hallway. So it's giving us both square meters and square feet. That's just a question of changing the label type. So we can change it to just name number with metric area. So we don't need to have square feet everywhere. Or we can right click on it and say select, where the hell is it? Oh, I'm selecting the wrong thing here. Select all instances in project, and we can change them all at the same time to name, number, and metric area. So that, I need to select the right one first of all. So they all change at the same time, okay? And then you can apply a color code to huh? Yeah, because then it changes them all if at once. And then the last thing I want to talk about is if you want to color code that, you can just come up to the annotate button. I think they've put it under now. And there's something here called Color Fill Legend. This tiny button over here, Color Fill Legend. So if I select that, you can see that it gives me this kind of color fill here. So if I click that there, it's asking me, well, what do I want to have a color fill legend about? So I'm going to say the rooms, and I'm going to say by room name, and press OK. And now it's calculating because it seems like you've got several rooms somewhere in the background here.
There's rooms.
Yeah, all right, okay. So what I'll do is I'm going to make a schedule of rooms. Have you got a schedule of rooms? Yeah, you do. Nothing's working in this project. Rooms. So I'm just going to say name, number, and area. So okay. So there is only 3 rooms. Okay, there's some confusing stuff in this project, so we won't worry about it too much. But anyway, what this should be doing is just straight away giving. There it is. Now it is. I think you might have some errors in the project. So next time you open it up, audit the project because there's an option to audit it. Audit is called, and that will go through it and find some errors in it because it seems like there's quite a lot of errors in it, which it generally gets caused by people just playing with it that don't really know how it's. Anyway. So now it's given us a kind of a color legend, and we can modify those colors just by editing the scheme. So usually, like everything in Revit, it gives you all these really heavy colors. So I usually just take them way down so they're not overwhelming the whole drawing. So it just gives it like a small bit of shading to the background of the drawing. So then you have a color legend for your project.